Alex Morgan was always told that one day, the 200-acre plot of land his grandfather had left behind would be his to cherish and preserve. The rolling hills, the towering oak trees, and the small creek running through the property were more than just land to Alex, they were part of his family's history. But everything changed the moment he received a call from Mrs. Thompson, his grandfather's old neighbor. "Alex, you need to come here. Something's not right." Mrs. Thompson's voice quivered over the phone. "The HOA is building something on your grandfather's land." Her words sent chills down Alex's spine. He had heard rumors of Sunny Pines HOA's expansion plans, but he never imagined they would overstep their bounds like this. Without wasting a moment, Alex drove straight to the property, his mind racing with questions. What right did they have to mess with his inheritance? When he arrived, his worst fears were realized. The once pristine landscape was unrecognizable. A large section of the land had been dug up, construction equipment and piles of dirt scattered across the area. Bright yellow caution tape marked off the area, and workers were busy erecting what looked like a massive outdoor adventure park, complete with zip lines, rock climbing walls, and obstacle courses. "Hey! You can't just do this," Alex shouted at a group of workers as he stormed toward the site. One of them paused and looked up, clearly startled. "Ah, sir. We've got orders from the HOA to build this park here. You'd have to talk to them if you've got a problem." Alex clenched his fists. "I don't think you understand," he said through gritted teeth. "This is my land. You don't have permission to build anything here." Alex wasn't one to back down, especially when it came to defending his family's land. He marched straight to the Sunny Pines HOA office the next morning, determined to get some answers. Inside, the air was thick with the hum of computers and the sound of phone calls. Behind a polished desk sat Diane Reynolds, the HOA president, a woman who had a reputation for getting things done, whether by fair means or foul. "Mr. Morgan." Diane greeted him with a tight smile, as if she had been expecting him. "What can I help you with today?" Alex's eyes narrowed. "I want to know why you're building a whole amusement park on my land without permission." Diane's smile didn't waver. "Mr. Morgan, the HOA legally purchased this land from a local developer. All the paperwork is in order. I'm afraid there's nothing more to discuss." Alex could feel his anger bubbling up. "You're lying. I know for a fact that this land was never sold, and it's been in my family for generations. I want to see those documents." Diane hesitated, her cool demeanor faltering just slightly. "I'll have my secretary get them for you," she said quickly, trying to brush him off. But Alex wasn't satisfied. He knew something wasn't right, and he wouldn't leave until he had proof. After a few tense moments, Diane handed him a stack of papers, but Alex could tell they weren't complete. He took the documents and left, knowing he needed to find more answers. Back at his grandfather's old house, Alex scoured the study for anything that could help him. His grandfather's office was a treasure trove of old maps, documents, and personal letters. As he combed through the dusty files, his fingers brushed against something odd, a bundle of yellowed papers tied together with twine. Alex untied the string and found several old survey maps of the property. As he studied them carefully, his heart sank. The land boundaries on the maps didn't match the official records he had just received from the HOA. In fact, it looked like his grandfather's property line had been altered in the last few decades, specifically in the area where the amusement park was now being built. The discrepancies were clear. The land being developed was undeniably part of the Morgan family's estate. But it was the letter he found tucked behind the maps that sealed the deal. Written in his grandfather's neat handwriting, it read, "The land has been encroached upon. Alex, watch out for those who think they can take what's ours. You're the last one left to protect it." Alex's stomach churned. His grandfather had known about this. The HOA's actions were not just a mistake, they were part of a long-standing scheme. The battle was just beginning. The weight of the discovery hung heavily on Alex's shoulders as he sat in his car outside a small law office in downtown Pinehurst. His mind raced with the implications of what he had uncovered. The Sunny Pines HOA, with the help of local officials, had systematically altered property boundaries, stealing from his family for years. But now, Alex had the proof. It was time to fight back. He stepped into the office, greeted by a woman in her late 40s who introduced herself as Laura Daniels, a seasoned property attorney. Alex explained the situation, his voice thick with frustration and resolve. Laura listened carefully, nodding as he spoke. When he finished, she leaned forward, her eyes sharp with understanding. "Alex, from what you've told me, it sounds like there are serious legal violations here," she said. "The manipulation of property records, especially going back to 1997, could be a case of fraud. If we can prove that the land was illegally transferred or the boundaries were falsified, you might have grounds for a lawsuit." Alex felt a surge of hope. But he knew the battle wouldn't be easy. "I have these old maps and a letter from my grandfather that show the true boundaries," he said. "But I need more to make this case solid." Laura smiled. "You've done well so far, Alex. But we need a full audit of the property records. I'll pull the official files and see if we can find any discrepancies in the paperwork filed with the county. If there's any evidence of tampering, we'll have a case." Over the next few weeks, Alex and Laura worked tirelessly, diving into old property records, reaching out to former officials, and tracking down any relevant documents that could expose the HOA's fraudulent activities. As they pieced together the puzzle, it became clear that the HOA had been colluding with a handful of local officials to alter the property records, most of it centered around the 1997 shift in boundaries, which was suspiciously linked to the same year the HOA began purchasing land nearby. But they needed more. That's when Alex reached out to a local investigative journalist, Sarah Whitaker. She had a reputation for digging deep and exposing corruption, and Alex knew she would be the perfect ally. After meeting Sarah at a coffee shop, Alex laid out everything he had discovered. Her eyes widened as she listened, and by the end of their conversation, she was on board. "I can dig into the public records, talk to some of the county officials, and try to get any inside information," Sarah promised. "But I'll need you to gather everything you have on the land, the maps, the letter from your grandfather, and any correspondence you can find between the HOA and local officials." With Sarah's help, they uncovered even more damning evidence, emails between the HOA and key local figures, discussing ways to smooth over the land boundary issues, and a trail of hush money payments. The conspiracy was becoming undeniable. Alex knew that with the combined legal strategy and media attention, they stood a chance of taking down the HOA. But it wasn't going to be easy. Diane Reynolds, the HOA president, wasn't going to back down without a fight. Alex couldn't afford to waste any time. This was his family's legacy, and he would stop at nothing to protect it. The community meeting was held in the large conference room at the Sunny Pines HOA office, a space that felt more like a courtroom than a place for casual discussion. The long table was filled with the usual cast of HOA board members, each one sitting in a stiff, formal posture, ready to defend their pet projects. But this time, Alex Morgan had a different kind of weapon in his hands, hard evidence. As the meeting began, the air was thick with tension. Diane Reynolds, seated at the head of the table, shot Alex a cold smile as he walked in with a stack of documents in hand. The members of the community, many of whom Alex knew personally, watched with curiosity. Some had heard rumors about the dispute, but few knew the full extent of the controversy. "Good evening, everyone," Alex said, his voice steady but resolute. "I'm here tonight to present evidence that the land you're building this adventure park on is not only mine, but was illegally taken from my family. I've got the proof to back it up." There was an immediate murmur among the board members, and several of the community residents turned to one another, whispering in disbelief. Diane Reynolds, however, leaned back in her chair, a smug look on her face. "I'm sure you've got some documents, Alex," Diane said, her tone condescending. "But I'm confident our legal team has ensured everything is above board. We've followed all procedures." Alex's expression hardened. "Then you won't mind seeing what I've found." He slid a stack of papers across the table, revealing old survey maps, his grandfather's letter, and other documents that clearly showed the boundaries of the property had been altered. The room fell silent as the members studied the maps. Alex could see the uncertainty spreading across their faces. Even those who had once supported the HOA were beginning to question the legitimacy of the project. "These maps," Alex continued, his voice gaining strength, "are from 1997. They show the original boundaries of my grandfather's land. And as you can see, the area you're developing is part of that land. It's not for sale. And no one gave you permission to build here." Diane's face flushed red with anger. "This is ridiculous," she snapped, slamming her hand on the table. "Those maps are ancient. The property lines were redrawn years ago. And you're wasting everyone's time with these false accusations." But Alex wasn't backing down. "I'm not the one making false accusations, Diane," he shot back. "I've got the original paperwork, the maps, and even the letter from my grandfather, who warned me about this very thing happening." The tension in the room was palpable now. People were shifting uncomfortably in their seats, their eyes darting between Alex and Diane. Some began to speak quietly to one another, clearly disturbed by the evidence Alex had presented. Diane, now visibly shaken, tried to regain control. "This is preposterous. You think you can stop a community project with these outdated documents? We've already begun construction. It's too late to turn back now." But Alex stood tall, his voice unwavering. "No, it's not too late. I'm demanding that all construction stop immediately until this issue is resolved. I'll take this to court if I have to. But we're not moving forward until it's made clear that this land belongs to my family." Diane's face twisted in frustration. But she knew she couldn't brush him off this time. The crowd in the room had begun murmuring in agreement with Alex, their doubts about the project growing louder. "Fine," Diane spat, standing up from her seat. "You want to make a scene? We'll let the courts decide. But you're not stopping this project, Morgan. Not without a fight." As Alex stood there, watching her storm out of the room, he knew this was only the beginning. But for the first time, he felt confident. The community was starting to see the truth. And that was the first step toward reclaiming his family's land. The battle for Sunny Pines had only just begun. After the tense HOA meeting, Alex's resolve only grew stronger. The evidence he had presented had shaken the foundation of the Sunny Pines HOA. And it didn't take long for the whispers of his fight to spread throughout the community. Alex knew the battle wasn't over. But he could sense a shift, a growing undercurrent of support from the very people who had been disillusioned by the HOA's power. It wasn't long before Alex started receiving messages and phone calls. People who had long felt silenced by the HOA's rules and oppressive fines now saw an opportunity for change. Mrs. Thompson, his grandfather's old neighbor, called him first. Her voice was filled with admiration and hope. "I never thought I'd see the day when someone would stand up to them," she said, her words thick with emotion. "We've been dealing with the HOA's nonsense for years. If you're planning something, Alex, I'm with you." Soon after, other residents began reaching out, some offering moral support, others asking if there was anything they could do to help. The more Alex heard, the clearer it became. The community was fed up with the HOA's overreach, their absurd fines, and their disregard for the people they were supposed to serve. One evening, Alex called a meeting at the local community center. He invited all the residents who had expressed interest in joining the fight against the HOA, knowing this was the moment to make a real difference. As people began to fill the room, Alex looked around at their tired but determined faces. He took a deep breath, stepping up to the front of the room. "Thank you all for coming. This fight is bigger than just me or my family, it's about all of us. For too long, the HOA has controlled this community with an iron fist, making decisions without consulting the very people they're supposed to serve. But we can change that. The room fell silent. Every eye fixed on him as he continued. I'm proposing we form a new association, a residents' council that will represent all of us. Not just a handful of people who care more about profits than the well-being of this community. Together, we can work for a better future. One where we make decisions that protect our land, our rights, and our children's future. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. People started nodding, their energy building. Alex could feel the tide turning. And we won't stop at just taking down the HOA, Alex said, his voice growing stronger. We'll work together to create something better. Instead of the reckless amusement park they're building, we'll propose a more sustainable, responsible project, a recreational space that combines adventure with environmental protection. A place where people can have fun, but also respect nature. A place where we, the community, make the decisions. The room erupted in applause, and several residents immediately volunteered to help organize, spread the word, and gather more support. Alex's heart swelled with pride as he realized the true power of unity. The fight for his family's land was no longer just a personal crusade, it had become a movement. Over the next few weeks, the residents of Sunny Pines began coming together, brainstorming ideas, drafting petitions, and planning community events. The energy was infectious, and even those who had once been wary of Alex's cause now felt like they were part of something larger than themselves. With the support of the people who had once felt powerless, Alex knew they had a real chance at reclaiming not only his family's land but also the spirit of the community itself. The new Residents' Council was born, and with it came the promise of a better, fairer future for all of Sunny Pines. The battle for Alex Morgan's family land had been long and arduous, but it was finally coming to a head. With the unwavering support of the community, a mountain of legal evidence, and the relentless pursuit of justice, Alex had managed to put the Sunny Pines HOA on the defensive. Now, it was time to finish what he had started. In the weeks following the formation of the new Residents' Council, the HOA had been forced to pause the construction of the controversial adventure park. The pressure from the community was too great, and the legal documents Alex had uncovered, combined with investigative reports from Sarah Whitaker, the local journalist, had exposed the fraudulent dealings of the HOA and several local officials. The public outcry grew louder as more residents realized the extent of the HOA's corruption. Alex had managed to secure a court date, and when the day arrived, the atmosphere in the courtroom was tense. Diane Reynolds, the HOA president, sat at the opposing table, her face tight with frustration and fear. She had hoped to bury the issue, but the mounting evidence was undeniable. Your Honor, Alex began, his voice strong but calm. I stand here today not only to protect my family's land but to hold those who took it accountable. The evidence presented clearly shows that the HOA used fraudulent means to alter property boundaries and illegally take land that was rightfully mine. This isn't just about me, it's about ensuring that no one else has to face the same injustice. The courtroom buzzed with energy as Alex presented his case. With the support of Laura Daniels, his attorney, and the testimony of witnesses from the community, they made a compelling argument. The documents were clear. The surveys, the letter from his grandfather, and the correspondence between the HOA and local officials all pointed to one undeniable truth: the HOA had lied, manipulated records, and stolen land from Alex's family. After what felt like an eternity, the judge finally spoke. The evidence presented in this case is irrefutable. The judge declared, the HOA is hereby ordered to cease all construction on the disputed land, and you will be required to pay restitution for the damages caused by your actions. Additionally, an independent investigation will be conducted into the actions of local officials involved in this matter. A wave of relief washed over Alex. The victory wasn't just his, it was the community's. The residents of Sunny Pines had stood together and fought for what was right. The court's ruling sent a clear message to the HOA, their reign of control was over. But the victory didn't stop there. With the legal battle behind him, Alex turned his attention to what truly mattered, the future of the land. Working with the Residents' Council, Alex spearheaded the creation of a new recreational space that was both environmentally friendly and fun for the entire community. The Adventure Park, once a symbol of greed and disregard for nature, was transformed into a thoughtful, sustainable space. The new park incorporated exciting adventure elements like zip lines and climbing walls, but with a focus on preserving the natural beauty of the land. The design was carefully planned to minimize environmental impact, using recycled materials and eco-friendly construction practices. The community came together to build it, ensuring that the new space would truly represent the values they all shared: fun, safety, and respect for nature. As Alex walked through the new park, watching children laugh and play, he knew that this was more than just a win for him. It was a win for everyone in Sunny Pines. The land had been restored to its rightful owner. The community had reclaimed its voice, and justice had been served. In the end, Alex didn't just protect his family's land, he helped create a better future for everyone. And that, in the end, was the greatest victory of all. If you enjoyed Alex's story and the power of a community coming together to fight for what's right, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think about this battle for justice. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep up with more stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.